moving down to the Big Easy New Orleans. Last year, 9-8. Again, another team. Really, you were 9-8 last year, New Orleans? That doesn't feel accurate. Same coach, Dennis Allen. New offense, Clint Kubiak, San Francisco passing game coordinator last year and the former offensive coordinator of the Vikings in 2021. Projected starting offense. Talked about Derek Carr's old team. This is his new team. Quarterback 27 currently being drafted. Soon to be supplanted by South Carolina and Oklahoma's own Spencer Rattler. Not really. He still has a long way to go. Alvin Kamara, the RB1, being drafted RB17. Kendre Miller, RB44. And oh, how the turntables Jamal Williams, RB80. Send a prayer up to Jamal Williams.
You score 18 touchdowns, you score 1 touchdown.
I still love Jamal Williams. I think he's one of the best personalities in the league. He's hilarious.
Sometimes you live long enough to see yourself become a villain, right?
There you go.
Oh, he's the greatest villain of all time, if that is true. I see TikToks of him at like anime conventions. This man is an all-world athlete dressed in Pokemon gear.
Oh, yeah.
It is
I just recently saw that TikTok, too.
It is awesome. I love it. Chris Olave, wide receiver 1, currently drafted wide receiver 11. Rashid Shaheed, dog, wide receiver 53. And the only reason he's on this show sheet is because Ryan needs to make a mention of him. A.T. Perry at wide receiver 124, and we'll get there in a second. Cedric Wilson coming over from Miami. Previous to that was in Dallas, wide receiver 4. Juwan Johnson, tight end 20. And quarterback 3, also known as tight end 2, and wide receiver 5, along with RB7, Taysom Hill at tight end 39, RB72, quarterback 35, and wide receiver 66. The 3 of those are made up. The tight end 1 is legit. So, but that's Taysom Hill, also being drafted as kick returner 7, behind Cordero Patterson at 6 because of his advanced age. So, in case you're wondering, for all those, and you can weirdly draft Taysom Hill on defense, which is crazy. If you just wanted to put Taysom Hill as defense, you can just put him as your team defense.
Jack of all trades, master of none, right?
Really, like one of the highest paid quarterbacks in the league with 17 deferral years on his contract, like Shohei Ohtani. Absolutely insane. You want to talk about another white crayon in the Crayola box? Taysom Hill, BYU. Hell yeah. We'll start with Ryan's 60-second pitch on A.T. Perry.
I love that we're starting here. I was not ready to start
because
here.
We're just going to do it.
Get it out of the way.
Yeah.
6'5". 6'5" wide receivers. You know, that's the only reason I love him. But what I found absolutely insane was my man had 18 targets last year, but scored 4 touchdowns. This man,
he's 6'5",
eats in the red zone. And while laughably, he's wide receiver 129,
124.
I will make him my last pick in every best ball draft from this point forward, because if that's how he's clearly the red zone target. And now we're talking about an injury to Juwan Johnson where he might not play enough. A.T. Perry, man, could he score 1 time every game? He's going to get those Jimmy Graham looks.
So, Matt, there's a guy that has to throw to him, right? And that guy is Derek Carr. I don't know if he's going to be targeting A.T. Perry all that often. He could. Who knows?
He's going to catch a touchdown every 4 targets.
Who knows? So. 6'5". That's a big body target. Derek Carr does love himself a deep ball. He also loves himself an interception and check down. How do we feel about Derek Carr at quarterback 27? Because I feel like we wouldn't be talking about him here if you didn't feel he was a value.
I think he's a solid QB that you can stick in there, QB2 type guy in super flex type leagues. I think you can feel comfortable with that. I think he can be that guy from week to week, depending on the matchups. You mentioned Juwan Johnson's injury. That is going to be big, especially for any kind of props there for Taysom Hill moving forward. But the key to this whole thing is the Saints keeping the pressure off of Derek Carr. As a Raiders fan, he actually did pretty good when pressure was around. He had a very good completion rate with pressure. However, last season, not so much. I mean, they did a good job. They got Fiego there, moving him from right tackle to left tackle. Milhouse did a good thing there with Mia Kimes. They're talking about the importance of that move there. But if you look at, according to Fantasy Points data there on Derek Carr, he ranked 7th in the league in completion percentage from a clean pocket at 79.6%. 0.7. That's using a rate over expectation type analytics there. Derek Carr's QBR of 74 last year when kept clean. That's good. That was 10th in the league. I mean, so we know if Derek Carr is kept clean, he can make some things happen, except he's got that Sam Darnold Ghostbuster thing going on. When people start flying, to me, he's never been the same since he broke his leg in that right before the playoff run that the Raiders made a few years back there. It seems like he's looking around when there's traffic around. It seems a little more hesitant. Under pressure, that rate of 74, that drops all the way down to 9.6. That is a huge discrepancy.
Yeah.
So for me, when we're talking about projecting this Saints offense, it all comes down to keeping Derek Carr clean. And they went out there, they addressed that with the offensive line. They got themselves a left tackle there now to kind of protect him there. I think Fiago there, he was out of Oregon State. That's the guy. His job number one is to protect Derek Carr. And if they can do that, then A.T. Perry can get those targets in the end zone. Chris Olave could be a top 12 wide receiver, but it's all about keeping Derek Carr clean. And if they can do so based on QBR and that completion percentage from a clean pocket, he can creep inside the top 20 as far as quarterbacks are concerned if he's kept clean.
I have him at QB 19. I was just looking at my projection, so I love it. Just so everyone knows, I practice what I preach with the second pick of the 18th round in the dynasty that Josh and I are in right now, A.T. Perry.
The second pick
of the 18th round, Joe.
Oh, I was like, what? Okay, that's fine. Just for reference to see who Derek Carr is going around, he actually got bumped down to quarterback 28 because
That's actually where I have him ranked.
Because New England's own.
Whoa.
Well,
why the hate, Josh?
It's Derek Carr.
I think it's a pocket. I think it's that pocket, really.
He has no protection. He has none. That offensive line was dog shit last year. Now, I will say, like, I'm very much lower than he will probably finish. His lowest fantasy finish literally was his rookie year as QB 20. He has finished.
We're comping to last year where he was the QB 16. So.
Yeah, no, and I understand that. But again, like, you know, if rankings are based on if everybody's healthy.
That's
and we all know nobody.
Okay.
People aren't going to be healthy all year. He's going to finish a lot higher than that. I'm not naive to that point, but there's nothing attractive about Derek Carr on a football field. Nothing. Every year he tops 3,450 passing yards, and every year he is a QB2. He's finished as a QB1 once. He was QB9 his third year in the league. Between 20 and 13, basically, is where he's finishing. You can write that in pen. It's just going to happen. It
was like Phillip Rivers finishing QB9 or QB10 for like 7 straight seasons.
There you go. Exactly. Derek Carr has literally 2 jobs. Feed Chris Olave, feed Alvin Kamara.
Turn the ball over.
That's it.
Turn the ball
Get his playmakers the football. That's all he has to do.
Overthrow deep balls.
Yeah, he'll do that too.
Fumble in the pocket.
Well, I did my offensive line rankings. You know you're a degenerate when you do offensive line rankings.
I love that.
Matt, is it already cold in Canada? Do you need help?
That is my
summer that help, boring.
You know? Yeah, well, I've got the Saints line ranked at 32 right now. If you're looking at Fiago there, you got
Matt. How many teams are in the NFL? Just for first time listeners. Okay, thank you. So they're dead last. Fantastic.
But if things do work, and we've seen this, we've projected lines to be bad. I mean, we projected offensive lines to be good. If something were to change, if there was something that could flip the switch, I mean, that's the key to Derek Carr. That's the key to the Saints offense, is what that offensive line can do and what it can hold up to do. So, I mean, Ramczyk, we know he's a good offensive line. Ruiz, we know he's a solid offensive lineman.
He's just
after
older.
that, there's a lot of questions there. So
Ruiz is just older. He was great a few years ago.
Wasn't he an older? Yeah, he was a little older as a rookie too, I think.
He was. Yeah, he's been good. He's just getting old. That's his issue, is he's losing his touch. Because I wonder if Ruiz was still there, and that helps, but it doesn't help enough to not be ranked dead last. That's tough. But for those wondering where Carr's going, he's 28. 3 guys ahead of him: Bryce Young, J.J. McCarthy, Drake May, in order. If you're confident enough to take one of those rookies over Derek Carr, more power to you.
But this is the thing,
I'm
Joe.
sorry,
You're not
Bryce
taking
Young,
any of
another
those guys to be your starter. Like, these are all QB2s.
Sure.
If you're drafting them, what are you shooting for? You're shooting for
best ball,
upside.
these
You're
are
not shooting for
QB3s. These,
but again, still, like, you're shooting for upside. You're not shooting
100%.
for, you know what? I want the QB 18 in fantasy. No, you don't want safe and boring. You want
Derek
upside.
Carr is awful for best ball.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Correct. That ranking is probably different in redraft. 100%. He probably creeps up closer to 20 in redraft. But
I don't even think I'd go that far. But
Josh, you just don't like Derek Carr. It's okay. You can admit that. It's okay. This is a safe space. I say I hate people all the time, and that's okay. I love Derek Carr when he's slinging deep balls to guys like Rashid Shaheed, who we're going to talk about. Because if there is one guy that you would rest on who might be the best ball value of most guys in the NFL, I'd venture to say Rashid Shaheed is somewhere near the top of that list, because he'll get 2, maybe 3 catches a game, but in those 2 to 3 catches, he has 80 to 100 yards and is probably finding the end zone. So, Ryan, you want to talk about Rashid Shaheed.
I say I'm not going to spend a ton of time on Shaheed because we got A.T. Perry into the show. First and foremost, Chris Battistell just dropped an article on Rashid Shaheed. Go check it out. I'm going to echo a lot of what he's saying. You love to see the growth. Targets doubled from year 1 to year 2. But Chris hit a point, and Joe, to your point, best ball daydream. His first 2 touches in the NFL were touchdowns. Like, this is what this
bombs
guy
too.
does.
They were bombs.
And then the last thing I'm going to throw out there, if you are in Scott Fishbowl, Rashid Shaheed is the definition of this scoring, because he is the sole returner, at least was last year, for the New Orleans Saints. Now, they're talking about getting other guys involved this year, but it's going to be Shaheed's job to start with. Rashid Shaheed, people vary, but jumps up to a top 10 wide receiver in Scott Fishbowl scoring if you look at his last year numbers. So if you are in Scott Fishbowl, these are the names you need to know, these return guys. Rashid Shaheed is that guy for Scott Fishbowl. You are going to be shocked at where you see his ADP end up. But the long and short of it is, he is a gadget type player. And Josh, you mentioned they have, I'm blanking on the name, Kubiak there. He's not Deebo Samuel size-wise, but he is Deebo Samuel gadget-wise, and Kubiak is the guy that's going to figure out a different way to get him the ball. I'm going to be real interested to see how many different ways he scores a touchdown this season.
I love Rashid Shaheed. Absolutely no hate on the Shaheed side of things. One guy I do hate, but should be okay this season. This man was drafted 3rd overall on my team, and I had to sit in a fucking diner and eat pancakes because his dumb ass couldn't find the fucking end zone and averaged less than 4 yards per carry, because I stand by the statement, Alvin Kamara can't run between the tackles. I stand by the statement. And why is that, Matt? Because they have the worst fucking offensive line in the NFL. There you go. But here's the thing. When Derek Carr's giving him 35 targets in 2 games, that negates everything.
And ignore him.
Yeah, you can't ignore him at that point. At RB17, if this man's going to get 90-plus targets, he's a steal, right, Josh?
100%. And that's why you love Alvin Kamara. I mean, you look at the last 3 years running the football, 3.7, 4.0, and 3.9 yards per carry. Not great.
Poo-poo.
2 of those years, he had well over 200 carries. Again, not great. He is not somebody that you want to hand the football to over 200 times. 170, maybe 180. Okay, that's fine. The problem the last couple of years, the Saints have not had a viable RB2. This is why they drafted Kendre Miller. And Kendre Miller kind of had a lost season last year, dealing with injuries. And then this coaching staff just saying, you know what, we paid Jamal Williams a lot of money. Let's make sure we get something out of it.
Let's make sure he scores the last touchdown of the season.
That wasn't even their decision. It was Jameis Winston's.
Yeah. Jameis said, my boy, my dog.
Kamara's value lies in receiving work. It's all about the receiving work. He finished 4th last year among running backs in yards per route run, which, Joe, I know goes over your head as an analytics guy. But take it for this. It was a lot better than Christian McCaffrey. And from a receiving perspective, over their careers, they've basically been the exact same wide receiver out of the backfield. Clint Kubiak, the passing game coordinator, formerly of the San Francisco 49ers, with Christian McCaffrey last year, that's how they should be using Alvin Kamara. from a pass catching perspective, that is a top 12 running back in fantasy football. And Alvin Kamara has a nose for the end zone. He scored a ton of touchdowns, maybe just not helping Joe that one season. But if this offensive line can get going, he can score 10 plus through the ground and through the air.
It was 2 years ago. He only had 4 touchdowns, right? It was 2
I think
years
so,
ago.
yeah.
Yeah, not last year. Last year did better. Matt, did you want to bring up anything?
Yeah, I was just going to touch on. I got Kamara as my RB12 in redraft this season. I really like him. I don't think I think that's you can make the case. I think he was third in points per game last season as far as running backs are concerned. I think 75 receptions, give or take, in less than 13 games. Kubiak coming in this passing kind of offense there, 19.3% target share. That was second amongst running backs. So we know if we're talking PPR, Kamara's a guy that can easily be in that top 5 conversation when it's all said and done. I got him at RB12. Kind of that offensive line still kind of has me a little bit worried, but I mean, RB17, that's way too low. Way too low.
Yeah, I have him right now as my RB8, and I'll tell you what, as long as this like pseudo holdout keeps going, that ADP is only going to do this. It's only going to come down, making him that much more of a value.
And obviously different coaching staff, different everything, but if they use Kendre as a Mark Ingram to Alvin Kamara, we talked about it with Tony Pollard and mentioned that this year Tony Pollard should have a better year because he will be splitting the backfield and not be the lone dog. That was the thing with Kamara. He's been the lone dog. The best he ever was with Mark Ingram taking the brute and the brunt of most things, and Kamara can go and do stuff on off tackles and in the receiving game. So if that happens...
Hey, if you told me that Kendre Miller would get at least 150 carries this year, Alvin Kamara I would pencil in as a top 5 running back.
I'd put Kendre Miller a lot higher because I would like Kendre Miller to do something for my dynasty roster. That would be great for me personally. Alvin Kamara should have a great season, barring the 32nd ranked offensive line according to Matt Donnelly. Matt, next year's show, or next show we have you on, I'd like you to rank CFL offensive lines and tell me if they're better or worse than the New Orleans Saints offensive lines.
Give me 5 minutes. It's only 9 teams, man.
Matt, do you keep up with the CFL? Are you a CFL fan?
I am. So I'm just south of Calgary, Alberta, home of the Calgary Stampeders. But I'm a Saskatchewan Roughriders fan when it's all said and done.
Hell yeah,
I got where are we at here? Oh, hang on 1 second. Let's just wait. Oh,
Grey Cup.
There we go. I got my melon head.
I love it.
I was like, is that a watermelon? Saskatchewan Roughriders, Calgary Stampeders, Toronto Argonauts, British Columbia Lions. I'm
surprised you even know that many CFL.
Yeah, dude,
that is
dude,
impressive.
the Grey Cup. They play for the Grey Cup.
That's about the only thing I know. I know them and the Argonauts. That's it.
First off, Doug Flutie, fucking CFL legend. Doug Flutie. Cameron Wake, I believe, came from the CFL. Yeah. I know he's Canadian.
Ricky Williams played a.
Ricky Williams. Well, Ricky Williams was good enough
to
not play in the CFL. But there's been some good players that have come from the
Warren
CFL.
Moon. I mean, we can go on and on. Alex Singleton's down there right now. Like, it's been a nice feeder league. Joe Theismann made his cut his teeth there in
King
with the Toronto Argonauts way back when, and of course Damon Allen, brother of Marcus Allen, probably the greatest passer in football history. I think he's got more passing yards than any other quarterback in football history.
Wow.
CFL highlights are fun because the end zone's like 75 yards deep and the goalposts are just directly in the middle of it. So
it's like
a nice little screenplay, a nice little rub you could do.
Oh, it's awesome. They use the ref and the fucking goalposts to rub off screens. And again, the end zone is literally 20 yards deep. It's awesome. It's fantastic.
You know what? It is tough to defend. Like, as someone who played Canadian football growing up, your nickel corner or our defensive halfback, I mean, you're on an island because that slot receiver's got a two-way go and get run at you off the snap of the ball. So you have to be, and then you got to look out for goalposts in the middle of the field. I mean, it changes the game completely. You know how many times I've hit that goalpost?
Yeah.
That's probably why I'm wearing a helmet now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's why Matt stays inside and talks about football instead of running around getting knocked in the head previously. Bets before we move on to the Indianapolis Colts. We have Ryan, the Saints to score the most points in the regular season at plus 4,000 on FanDuel.
They were top 10 last year, and I think they're going to get better with this return game rules. I was shocked that it was plus 4,000. Why not?
I will say to you the same thing I said to Josh about his
I
Bo
knew you were
Nix
going to.
winning Rookie of the Year award. Might as well just go to McDonald's, spend $10 on a Big Mac, and throw it out the fucking window because that's a better use of your money than betting the New Orleans Saints to score the most points this season. Josh, you have Derek Carr over 3,450 and a half passing yards. That's even money on DraftKings.
He's
And
literally
Matt,
done it 9 straight years. He's topped that mark.
the
I can't
passing
believe
yard,
it's that low, honestly.
the passing yard lines have been very low for some reason.
Yeah.
Incredibly
Well, they're
Hop
low
on
for
it now.
some people. When we get to the next one, it's way too high. So
Fair. Matt, you have Shaheed over
this.
3.5 touch. His line is 3.5 touchdowns.
I think it's just receiving though.
Yes, just receiving touchdowns. Yeah.
Oh, I love it. Like I said,
No.
I will hammer some money on that as soon as we're off the show tonight.
Yeah, 3.5 touchdowns. My God, yeah, smoke the over on that, and that's on Caesar's Sportsbook.
Yeah, I mean, look at the 5 last year. We just he's already done this. This is not a big shock. You want to talk about that? You guys talk about best ball. The need for Shaheed here. 15th in deep targets, 17th in yards per target, 15th in yards per reception. 3 weeks as a top 12 fantasy wide receiver.
Dog.
That's awesome.
Love Shaheed. I love Shaheed. Love that man.